Well, talking about jobs and getting people back to work, I know that you've been a big proponent, obviously, and creator of the Skills Act, which is essentially trying to consolidate, right, all the work training programs around the country. And it did pass in the House, and it's on its way to the Senate. But uniformly, the Democrats have rejected this. I mean, they've opposed this because they say this is basically a one-size-fits-all type of initiative. Whereas it leaves out, and we've talked about this, leaves out the poor and the and the disaffected, the disabled and other minority groups. That's what they're saying this bill is about.
First of all, I would say that description is inaccurate because specifically we maintain protections for veterans, for the disabled, for the poor, to allow them access and even enhanced access to some assistance. The impetus for the bill came from the General Accounting Office and its recommendations of how to go about slimming down the government and get rid of the waste. We have almost 50 federal workforce training programs right now, 50, and they are implemented by several different agencies, departments. I mean, you can imagine, and it's a bureaucratic mess. And what we said is we want to get the unemployed an opportunity to have the work skills they need to access the new positions in the new industries of the future. We know there are 400,000 to 500,000 openings in the healthcare sector alone right now because there are individuals without the skills to fill those jobs. Same thing with the natural gas industry. A lot of open positions right now. So each region of the country may have different workforce needs. What we want to say is allow employers and those community colleges and other training centers the opportunity to craft the proper training programs to allow for access to fill the jobs.
Then why didn't he get more support then?
Well, again, I think it sort of goes back to your initial question about Washington. You know, we have to get more practice in the ability to work together and not have a knee-jerk reaction to say, oh, because this came from the other side, I'm not going to support it, right? And so I think, again...
But it's likely going to die in the Senate.
Well, hopefully not, because this is a GAO recommendation, General Accounting Office. This is as neutral as you get in Washington. And, you know, the workforce training programs, that should be something that we could agree on. Again, this is not something like trying to address the Medicare issue. This is really a program that's designed to help people out of work. I think we can all agree on this is better to allow for more flexibility there with the proper protections. And we've always said we want to sit down and work with you. Tell us if there's legitimate concerns. Be glad to sit down and work it out.
So, Leader Cantor, the theme so far is that this political polarization and dysfunction creates headwinds to an economy that's incredibly entrepreneurial and innovative, right? So it's holding back. And I think that's correct, and it's important that you and others speak to that with a view to reducing this headwind. Now, if a political scientist was sitting here, he or she would say, hey, wait a minute, there's something else. And that is that the political system, the traditional parties, are starting to lose the confidence that citizens have in the system. Now, we've seen in Europe what can happen. The Italian elections, you get no government.
Yeah.
We've seen it in Greece. We've seen it in Cyprus. How worried are you that at some point citizens are going to say this system simply doesn't produce?
Well, I think the one thing about America is, you know, we are very unique in our system of government and the separation of the branches, which does provide for a little bit of perspective versus most of our European counterparts.
Usually it works, the checks and balances.
It does. And there's a certain brilliance to what the framers came up with, and I know it's a struggle, frustrating for all of us. But I think to your point, Mohammed, it's an amazing transformation that's going on out there, and it has to do with the digital age, and it has to do with access to information.
Yeah.
And my hope is that we can open up more of Washington so that the public can engage. I mean, what we really need in order for things to move is for the people of the country to have a sense of investment in their government. And the only way we can do that is to provide more openness, more transparency. We've got a project that is coming out of my office called Citizens Co-Sponsor, and it will be unveiled formally soon. And it will allow for the access of information, the ability for application software writers to take that information and allow people to use it to help better their lives.
Mr. Leader, thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate it. That was House Majority Leader Eric Cantor. And also, of course, Mohammed will be back with me for some final thoughts this hour. We'll be back in 2 minutes.